still saying starting. Okay, there we go.
I can talk about workplace dating relationships. I have stories about that, and I have stories about divorce and family issues. So I can talk about either of those.
Okay. Does anyone else have a preference?
I was just going to say I could talk about substance abuse.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm getting to it real quick here.
I'm like, what else is left?
Yeah, let's see.
I wondered if anybody would even be able to talk about. I wondered if anybody had any stories about substance abuse or same-sex relationships. So, if anybody else has anything that I have, I don't care if they talk about that too. I think the stories would be different anyway.
Yeah. We can always just. What were you going to say, Eric? Sorry.
I'll add in comments on any of those because I have instances with most of those. Same-sex marriage, I guess I could talk about that one as well.
Okay. Well, we can just go in order then. So it looks like substance abuse is first. If you want to talk about that, Brandon.
Sure. I guess the main thing I want to do is just relate an experience that I had. He was not only a good friend, but he was a coworker of mine. And what made the situation really difficult is this individual had suffered a pretty significant back injury when he was young, and he was kind of always living in pain, and it would be certain degrees of pain. Some days would be better, some days would be horrible. But as you can imagine, and for anyone that has to deal with that, it's really easy to get addicted to painkillers. And so that's exactly what happened. Are you going to live with pain, or are you going to live with this addiction? And he went down the road of just really getting addicted to the painkillers. And when I view his life, and unfortunately it was a long road for him that ended up being about 10 years, where you could kind of see him where he was doing really good, and he actually just slowly deteriorated, and ended up passing away about a year ago. But when I look at the two options that he had, I mean, he tried back surgery and a lot of different things, and I just got to say, I can't judge him, because he did have a legitimate reason to choose pain medication. But the road that he did take, I can't imagine living with pain being worse than that. I mean, it was just so sad to see just the slow deterioration of his life, and but just a really sad story. And honestly, I don't know how else we could have helped him. And so, as far as the one thing I would say that I think could have helped him is that he was a really I don't know if you say prideful person, but really strong mind. I mean, as far as like going out and seeking counseling, I don't think he was ever open to that. He was just too stubborn for that kind of help. But I do think that was really his only option, and he just didn't view it as an option. But anyways, that's a personal experience that I have with just kind of witnessing just kind of the beginning and the end of just a really bad situation.
Wow, that's a crazy story. That is sad too, and it makes me think. And I don't know if it would apply with your story, like you were saying. You don't think he would have been open to that, but I mean, besides family, who else really sees you all day and, kind of gets to know you? And I think your job, and you work 40 hours a week around there, and so I think available to employees who are struggling with, substance abuse or other things like that. I mean, but like you said, I don't know if they would be even willing to counseling or whatever they offer, or if they would even be willing to admit that they have that problem to their, to their work. So I don't know, but I mean, I think at least having that option available, it could make a difference. So,
Mhm.
but, how did you see? So you said you worked with him. So how did you see the difference in, in the way he worked? Could you tell a difference? Was he more absent? Was he, what was?
Yeah, it was definitely a progression. Like the sick days kept becoming more and more, and it even got to the point where he ran out of any kind of sick or vacation time that he could use, and he had to try to borrow sick time from other employees.
Really? Wow.
Oh, am I cutting out?
Here you go.
I was just going to say, eventually led to him going out on a medical leave, but definitely tell.
Todos estaban comiendo, así que llegamos un poco tarde. Es que nosotros
Sorry, I didn't hear that
salimos
last
más
part. You
tarde,
could definitely tell.
quedamos a las 5:30.
But is there like another voice coming in or something? I'm hearing like,
Someone speaking Spanish.
yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
Y llegamos, comimos.
Oh, that's my roommate. Sorry, guys.
No problem. What was I going to say? Yeah, you could definitely tell the progression. Just how much time he was missing. That really kept increasing. I think you could also see the depression or just kind of the moodiness. Everything just kind of progressed and got worse.
So yeah, definitely as an employer, not only do you want your employees to, have a good overall well-being, but their home and the workplace, but I mean, it is affecting the workplace, and I think that's definitely an important issue that should be have opportunities for that. So that was a good story. Thank you, Brandon. So Heather, did you, because Nikki, you said you could talk about divorce and workplace relationships. Did you have a preference, Heather, or whatever you guys are wanting to do?
Honestly, I'm trying to think. I work for a very small company, and I've not experienced any of these things in a work atmosphere. I've seen people in personal life, but I've never seen anybody in a work atmosphere that has had to deal with any of this.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, Nikki, did you say you were going to talk on family issues? Because I could talk on family issues. Were you going to talk on that?
I can talk about divorce, and I can talk about workplace relationships. Whatever.
You pick. Go ahead. Pick whichever one. Rachel.
I guess.
Rachel.
You want me to pick?
No, sorry. We're picking up your roommate a lot.
Is it bad?
Okay. You talk. Yeah.
Yeah, here, I can.
Or if you just want to mute it until you talk, whatever.
Okay.
My divorce story, I guess, would have more of an impact on actual work experiences, so I guess I can do that one. If you want me to go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You can talk about that one.
All right. So, within the last year, I've had 2 or 3 coworkers get divorced. And one of my good ones, who I actually kind of worked closely with, she, before she even was getting divorced, she attempted suicide. And she's a great lady. She's got 3 kids, and they're all younger. And it was like a big shock to those of us at work who found out, and we just couldn't believe it. She's like one of the nicest people. She always laughs, and you know, if she has problems, she asks questions. So she was like, you wouldn't have ever thought that there was something in her life that would cause her to go to that decision. And so later on, she started talking to a therapist, and she would talk to our manager, and our manager shared with us that she has a really bad husband, you know, other issues that were going on within her relationship there. And so she started the divorce process, and it was so sad to see how, like, within 3 months of like when this happened to the next 3 months, it was like constant stress. You know, her work productivity went crazy low, and she always had to go to court or to meetings or to a therapist. And, you know, those things are totally necessary, and we all were there to support her and hope for the best for her. But it's interesting to see on the work side what impacts that had. And she ended up getting let go a couple months ago because of she wasn't able to get back into the swing of things. And our company has since put an EAP, and we kind of read about that a little bit, an employee assistance program. And it's kind of, you know, there to help employees with personal problems that aren't always work problems, but can affect work. So it was really cool to see that the company made like changes from the experiences we've had. It was sad that something so drastic had to happen for that to get put into place. But it was cool to see that we were trying to support one another and get things better for each other and for all the employees within the company. So yeah, that was my experience.
Oh, you're muted, Rachel.
Thank you.
But I did think of a topic, so I can speak.
Okay, go for it.
Oh no, you can. I was just saying,
Okay.
I actually found one.
Okay, perfect. I was just gonna ask if anyone has had similar experiences now that you've kind of brought more detail into the topic.
No, pero no se van a juntar porque
Does anybody have like an EAP as well, or heard about one?
el próximo jueves tengo un examen en clase.
There's a lady at my work that went through a divorce, and so I work with my wife, my father-in-law, 2 brother-in-laws, a sister-in-law. My mother-in-law used to work there, and I've had another sister-in-law work there. And then there's another family that has 5 or 6 family members that work there. Anyways, one of the ladies was going through a divorce, having a rough time. Our CEO's a lawyer, and so he gave a lot of his time, not really an official program, but our CEO loves all of the employees and treats them like family. And so he helped this lady out a lot, you know, gave her the time off to go to courts, gave her legal advice for free. My wife is the CEO's assistant, and my wife spent a lot of time going to the court house with her and helping her out. And so we don't have an official program, but we all try and treat each other like family. And so we try and help each other out with all the resources that we possibly can. This girl struggled afterwards. She had a hard time trying to adjust, you know, being a single mom, and our company let her come in and clean the building. We fired our cleaning crew, and she came, and she still does. She cleans our building for extra money after work a couple days a week. She still struggles. It's been like a year, and you can see that she still has some super hard days. It's kind of sad to watch, but I feel like the company has really tried to help her out and keep her going.
That's really cool.
So.
My oh, go
No,
ahead,
you can go
Rachel.
ahead, Nikki. No, you're good. You can go.
My uncle happens to be the CFO of my company, and his background is in accounting. He did taxes, and he still has his own tax practice. And I know during tax season, he'll give all the tips and pointers to the employees who need help. Like, I'm on the younger side, and we've gotten a couple younger employees since then. So, you know, we're not the great at filing our taxes. So he always like tries to make sure we're doing all right. And a coworker of mine, after she got divorced, had to buy a house, and he helped. He took the time to, you know, show her how to get her finances set and what to look for and whatnot. So I thought that was cool that he took the time to help her out and give her tips and tricks and stuff like that. So
That's cool.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like I said with Brandon, the impact that a company can have on us in situations like this. I mean, I can't believe it's already been a year for your coworker and she's still having hard times. So it's definitely a good thing to have that support from your workplace, especially when that's a time in our life. So that's really neat. Okay, Heather, did you want to say yours?
Sure. 2 years ago, my coworker, she lost her husband, and she works in our corporate office, which is in San Diego. And I wasn't there for it all, but like I said, it's a very small company. There's like 10, 15 of us at one time. So we're a close-knit group, and I remember her going through, you know, first losing her husband and then having to, you know, take care of everything. She's older, so her kids are grown. But it was still a struggle for her, and you could see the effect that it had on her work. You know, she still showed up. She showed up on time, and she was still a good employee, but she wasn't as observant. We audit government-funded construction jobs. So our work is all about detail and like going through payrolls with a fine-tooth comb. And so she was just missing a lot of things that are pretty much ingrained in us as we look through payrolls. And so, you know, for a time, she didn't get put on probation or anything, but there was a time period where her supervisor kind of had to check over her work like she did when she was in training, just to make sure that, you know, certain things were getting covered. And as time went on, she was able to, you know, get back on her feet and work through it and stuff, and still works for the company. She's an awesome employee. But for that time period where she's dealing with her loss, which is totally understandable, you know, she did struggle a bit, and we're lucky because our boss is very, very personal. I go on vacation to visit my boss, so she's awesome. You know, she's really supportive and gave her time off that she needed, and she's a lawyer as well. And so she, you know, helped in any way she could. And so I feel like divorce and loss, I know it's on the same reading article that we read, but divorce and loss seem to have some of the similar effects on employees, just because it is, whether you lose somebody through death or you lose somebody through divorce, you still are losing someone. And so I find that a lot of the symptoms or reactions are very similar, because my mom, when her and my dad got divorced a few years ago, she kind of went through the same process that I saw my coworker go through from losing her husband to death. So.
Well, thank you, Heather. I think it's really hard to keep your personal life separate from your work life. I mean, situations where it's that big, like a divorce or a loss of someone in the family, and so it's nice to always have that support from your employers. A little easier. Did you want to talk about again?
I could talk about same-sex relationships.
Okay.
This was, man. So 12 years ago, we lived in Las Vegas for about 6 years. We lived there for 6 years, 12 years ago. And I worked with a lady that was gay, and she was married. And she had a kid with this lady. But there really wasn't an issue. She was very professional. She was just like everybody else, and there really wasn't any issues besides the girlfriend she had before her, and then she got married and then got divorced. She just went through a lot of different relationships. So maybe you could feel the effects of her going through different breakups. So maybe being a little moody once in a while, or sad, or whatever. But besides that, she was pretty awesome and was a really good friend of mine. She was a fun lady to work with.
That's interesting. Sorry,
What's
Eric,
that?
what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that's really interesting. I don't know. I guess exactly why same-sex relationships would be any different than any other relationship, other than maybe I know sometimes it makes people feel uncomfortable. So I mean, if another woman was trying to flirt with me, yeah, I would probably be uncomfortable. But I think it would be the same if a man was trying to flirt. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's had any experiences with that or not, but I don't think we could really. But was there anything else you wanted to say, Eric, or anyone else?
Huh?
Well,
about
I
the
don't
same
really.
sex?
I agree with you, Rachel. I don't see why same-sex attraction in general would be an issue for the workplace. Very how to say it without sounding critical, but very staunch religious people, and they make it uncomfortable for that person who is gay, then yes, I could see that being an issue. But overall, it's not. Our best friend, well, he has same gender attraction, but he's got a girlfriend and he's about to get married. But yeah, I don't see why that would be an issue in the workplace unless people are causing it to be an issue.
I agree.
And Eric, where you said she was very professional and she was very, isn't having the same-sex relationship didn't make it any different than, there wasn't any problems in that situation. So Heather, it can be a problem if you make it a problem. So
Yeah. Most of us there at that company was LDS. Actually, her stepdad was LDS, so she knew about the church, and her grandma was very active in Utah, and she knew what we believed, and we respected. I mean, no one really had a problem with what she did because she was a good worker and she was fun to be around, and yeah, it wasn't really an issue. We tried converting her and to converting her to men, but she didn't want that.
hey, at least you tried, right?
Yeah.
So I was gonna say something about work-home balance. I mean, I guess it's probably different. I don't really have much to come home to. But I mean, I have other things like homework. I'm taking 7 classes this semester. I work, 26 hours a week, which may not be as much as you guys, but with 7 classes, it's a lot to tackle. And I have group things. I also want to have a social life. I love to sleep. Not that I like sleep, like I take naps all the time, but I mean, I still have a lot of things to balance. I still do have my, my parents and my siblings. I like to go visit them. I like to call them. I call my grandparents. There's still so many things that I need to balance. And so, I don't know. I started my job last semester when I was taking 16 credits. And it was really hard to balance it at first, but I've learned to like manage my time. And it's always hard the first couple of weeks when I'm trying to get in the hang of the assignments, because it's usually the same every week, but different topics or whatever. So long each assignment stuff. But one thing it said in one of the articles we had to read was of their flexibility, and they're not spending all day long at work, and there's work is not their top priority. They actually do better in work, and they I just lost the word, but they are better at what they do. And so I just thought that was interesting how I can see that in my own life when I time on work or even my homework, and I take a break and I relax, or I do something I enjoy. I can see the difference in my attitude the next day when I go to work and when I'm in class and as well. So with balancing home and work. So
I think I agree, Rachel. I think like everyone has more than work going on, so they always need to they have other things to balance too. And I like in one of the articles it talked about the Generation X or the Generation Y, the millennials, how they also wanted balance in their life. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true, because I mean, me and my husband don't have kids, but we are both in school and we both work, and so it's just important for us to find that balance from work and our other activities too. So I think and when we do find that balance and that rhythm, I think it totally makes our lives easier and happier, both when we're at work and when we're at school and when we're just at home or whatever. So I agree totally.
Thanks, Nikki. Does anybody else have anything to add to work and home balance?
I think, Rachel, you said something really important about time management. I think that when we kind of nail that down, it's a talent, and you can get better at it, and we can get worse at it. But when you have it down, it just becomes so much easier to balance things out and to use your time effectively. And it really helps. That's something that I had to really adjust to, working full time and then having the family and then also incorporating school. And it took me a couple semesters to kind of nail it down. I was trying to figure out how many classes to take a semester, but it's been a lot better now.
Yeah, I'm definitely still working on it, but it's a lot easier this semester than it was last semester when I first started, when I was a little more limited on my time for homework and other things. So it's definitely kind of boosted my confidence in a way. I finish all my homework and I'm doing good in my classes, and I'm realizing that, yeah, I can do that. I can take this many credits and I can work and I can accomplish these things. I don't need to be stressed out. I don't need to be lazy. I can do all this stuff and still enjoy my life. So it's been good having all that to do. Some days I wish I didn't have anything to do, but that will come one day. And then I'll wish I had something to do. But
you know what? That's what I was just thinking. I've been going to school now for 3 years and didn't go to school for 20 years before that. And I feel like I have a pretty good balance of school and work, and my church calling's pretty time consuming. I wished I could spend a little bit more time with family, but I feel like right now I have a good balance. And next year is going to be crazy. Next year is going to be my last year. I'll finish up, but I'm taking 3 classes right now, but the next or the 3 semesters next year, I'll probably take 4 and 5 classes just so I can get finished up. And I'm a little nervous about that. And I'm also nervous after I finish school of, okay, I feel like I have a good balance, but what am I going to balance my time with after school? Because I have a routine down that I've been doing for 3 years, and it's kind of scary to think, you know, I took last summer off and had those 8 weeks or whatever, and I did all my projects in like a week, and then I went into the habit of watching a lot of TV again, and I don't want to do that. I want to find a good balance of productive stuff.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, you are like my twin on that. This, like, I usually take about 3 classes. I decided to take summer off just as a break, and then I ended up taking 5 classes this semester. But during that summer break, I'd worked up the past 2 years this really great schedule and being able to balance everything out. And then summer came, and I did really well for the first couple of weeks. And then, yes, I turned to sitting on my butt and watching movies. And then when the semester started with 5 classes and working 40 hours, I was like, I don't have time to do anything, because I didn't have my routine down anymore, and I had to relearn everything, at the beginning of the semester. So it's difficult, but congratulations that you'll be done in a year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I hope.
You'll do good.
Thanks.
Okay, so Nikki, you did say you had something with workplace dating. Did you still want to share that, or?
Oh, sure. A CSR in our company was not doing very well. She constantly made mistakes, and we constantly had to correct them and have her managers go over it with her, and she wasn't getting all of her work done on time, so other people had to pick up her slack and yada, yada, yada. Well, after so many chances, she got let go. Well, turns out another coworker of mine on the CSR side was dating her, and they currently live together in an apartment. And he decided he needed to quit and show solidarity to his girlfriend. And he said that we didn't treat her fairly, and that the boss is a horrible boss, and he couldn't work for a company like that. And so he left. And it was just really funny to see how a dating relationship in the workplace turned into this big, huge, dramatic thing that involved way more people than it needed to, instead of just talking it out and seeing what the real problem stemmed from. And it was interesting, because like the people that it affected in work were the people around them that had to pick up the slack and constantly fix the issues. So it's interesting to see that kind of happen in the workplace.
Okay, so you cut out right in the middle of your story. So I heard that the boyfriend quit because they were not treating his girlfriend right. Is that what you said?
Yeah, okay. So he quit because he said the company didn't treat his girlfriend right, and he didn't want to work for a company that treated their employees that way. And he caused a lot of drama doing that. And he never even had anything to do with her working. So it was just interesting to see how it affected the people he worked with and the people she worked with and the people who had to pick up all of their slack from the drama. So, yeah.
That is crazy for sure. Yeah, and I know a lot of places, they won't even, if you're dating someone or you're married, one of you has to. In fact, at my job now, I heard that they were both single when they started, but they met at the credit union and they ended up getting engaged and married, and they said, we can only keep one of you, so you guys get to decide, but I'll deal with those relationships at work. So,
wow.
For reasons like that, so.
Yeah.
It's in like, there, like when you're hired, like you have to sign, like, okay, we won't pretty sure it's legal, but but I mean, we all signed on it, so.
The company my sister used to work for, if any of their coworkers started working, they had to go through essentially a how to have a relationship in the workplace training. So like they weren't going to fire anybody because it's not like anybody did anything wrong, but they're like, okay, if you have decided that you are going to be in a relationship, you now have to go through this extra training so you understand the boundaries and, you know, all this stuff. And so they pretty much knew, okay, this is what we still expect of you, and this is what we will not allow, and, you know, all that stuff. So I think having something like that in place is
That's
actually pretty
interesting.
smart.
That
Yeah.
is, yeah, I like that better.
I like that too.
Yeah, me
I
too.
think I think one of the issues that come up with relationships is not necessarily the beginning or the middle, but there's that potential for the, if the relationship doesn't work out, and that could cause huge problems within the work.
Yeah.
I totally get that, companies don't really want to deal with it. It can cause problems. And but Nikki, you gave an interesting experience about how it really kind of affected his decision and everyone around him. But yeah, I think one of the biggest problems is dealing with the breakup, the after effects of that.
Yeah. It can be hard working with spouse. So 19 years ago, me and my wife moved out to South Carolina to go to a job to work for a company, and we worked together. And we were newly married. Was it 19 years? Wow, maybe 20 years ago. And anyways, we had only been married like a year, and we worked together. And I bossed her around. I tried to boss her around, and it was hard working together. And luckily, that only lasted. That job, we moved to St. George after that, and she did something else, and I stayed with that company doing something else. Anyways, it was not good working together because of me trying to boss her around. So, fast forward 18 years, 17 years, now we're working together again, or we have been the last 3 years, and I learned my lesson last time not to boss her around. He's been there at the company longer than I have, and she knows more than I am, or knows more than what I know. And so I learned my lesson, and it works out good. I think the only thing that
And you guys had some time.
Yes. Sorry, were you asking a
I
question?
was just gonna say, and you guys. No, I just said, and you guys had some time to ship more, so and learn those.
Yeah, I did. I did. I don't think
you learned her around, so.
Yeah. I think the only thing now is trying to learn the balance of work and home, where we both work at the same place. We go to school. She actually has two. She has the accounting class and this class also. So we have two of the same classes. And so trying to balance work and school, and so that's not all we talk about all day long, although it seems like right now that's all we talk about is either work or school. So, or our daughters.
I'm
So
sure it's
trying to balance.
Yeah, and you definitely want to keep your separate home and not talk about work. Obviously, you probably will, and probably because that's what you do when you come home, but they're balancing that.
Sometimes we say, okay, we can only talk about work on the drive home, but it's sometimes hard to do.
That's smart. Okay, I think we're wrapping it up. And there's just two more questions in society that you guys think impact your future workplace.
Rachel, it was hard to understand you. You were cutting out a lot. Could you repeat that question?
Yeah. So what other see in society that are like your workplaces of the future? Hear me?
You cut out, but I think
Kind of a very
Sorry, I heard workplace of the future, and that's all I got.
ask what other issues students might see in society that are likely to impact their workplace of the future. Workplaces of the future.
Ooh.
Hmm. I guess the only thing maybe I could see is really if a lot of people really start working from home and not going into the office, and we text all the time, we email all the time, maybe we'll lose some of our verbal communication skills.
I could see
well,
that.
that's definitely a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Eric, because I've already seen a what's it called? You say erosion? Sure. Erosion of like people's abilities to write professional emails.
Oh,
Like even adults, where I'm like, I feel like you should be able to write a clear and professional email, but I'll get this like very text-like email, and I'm like, I actually have no idea what you're asking for. And so I think along those lines, Eric, is people's verbal and are going to decrease.
Yeah.
I agree, Heather.
I think
I've
that kind of
seen that. The owner of my company will constantly send emails, and they read just like texts, and it's like he relies on his phone to fix all the spelling errors. You know how when you're typing and your fat fingers will hit more than the right letter, but your phone corrects it. It'll be like that, where it's like he's emailing, but there's no phone to correct it because words will be spelled wrong all the time, and he'll send it out to like the whole company, and he's the owner, and we're all like, what are you doing? Come on. So I totally have seen that.
Yeah, I think that kind of ties in with the next question. It just says, what do you think the workplace, or how do you think the workplace will change in the next 10 years? So, yeah, probably a lot less verbal communication. So,
I hope.
yeah.
I mean, really, I could do my job from home, and I hope I can do that a couple days a week in the future. That I can spend a couple days at home doing my work. I think I'd get a lot more done sometimes.
Yeah, and that would be nice. That would be probably easier to balance home and work.
Be careful.
You definitely have to.
Yeah, you don't like it?
I've worked from home for the last 6 years, and it was great at first, and now I'm just like, I have laundry I need to get done, or oh, my house is a mess, and if I just go and clean it, I'll be able to work better. So working from home, it ends up having a lot of challenges.
Well, here's my plan. I just want to work during the summer from not in Arizona, so I don't have to be in the heat.
There you go.
Okay, I get that.
So yeah.
Way too hot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's everything that I have. So, if you guys wanted to add anything else.
Nope.
No?
I'm good.
Okay.
Hey.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Good luck on the final exam.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck, everyone.
Okay.
It was a good semester. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Alrighty, see ya.
Bye.